I was just super, super depressed.
Oh.
And I remember I was chatting to somebody at my that workplace, and they said, "Do you think you might be depressed?" And I was like, "No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm very, very fine. I'm still going out and stuff." And then they were like, "Oh, well, you know, our company has free confidential counselling. Like, you can literally choose whatever counsellor you want to go to and send them the bill." And I remember being polite at the time because it's work. Don't want to be rude.
Yes, yeah.
But in my head, I was like, "Oh, people don't do that."
Let's talk DXB. Real conversations by real people.
Lizzie, it's good seeing you. I'm very excited to do this discussion with you. So I came across the amazing Lizzie at the Soul Care retreat that you had put together and curated yourself, which we'll get into because it's very impressive. And it was a time where I was just desperately seeking, like focusing on my well-being and mental health. And I would say the retreat was one of the kind of catalysts to actually pushing me to investing in something like this. And it was one of the best days that I had. Yeah.
Oh, thank
So
you.
I'm very grateful for you for doing that, actually.
Thank you.
And that's why I was like, let me speak to you a bit more. And I remember your journey, you touched on it. And I just really want to kind of unpick at that because it's a great initiative for you to take out time with your very busy time and you're working full time to create this. So yeah, I'm thankful that you've come in today. So thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I also, I was so touched by your first episode of this podcast.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because I shared with you just earlier today that I have several friends who I would have sworn at the time of getting married and meeting these guys, this was going to go the long distance. Yeah. And the reality is that life always has the last laugh. And I think, unfortunately, people don't talk about what you were going through enough. So I can only imagine how many people wanted to scream when they saw your first podcast because it's so relatable, but it's just not talked about.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I think I went live at midnight. My hands were shaking and I was like, I'm just going to turn off my phone. I'm going to turn off my phone for about a year.
I just messaged you.
But that was definitely part of my kind of healing. And it was like for me, sharing publicly, I say it all the time. People are like, really? I was like, I don't share stuff like that publicly. But I think internalizing it and, talking to yourself about it was becoming more detrimental. So I'm learning to just be free and be myself and just be true to who I am, which is a journey in itself.
Yeah.
So before we go into it, I always like, to learn a bit more about the person that's sitting in front of me. So I'm going to do the typical Dubai expat questions. Where are you from? Where's home? What brought you to Dubai?
Yeah. So I was born in Uganda in East Africa. And then I moved to UK when I was 6 weeks old. And then I was a baby. And then I moved to Dubai 7.5 years ago. And I haven't looked back since. I love it.
Oh, yeah. No. But you're doing amazing things here as well. And I really wanted to kind of touch on that because you don't often get people, either that can make the time to do something outside of, their kind of 9 to 5, if we call it that. And you've grown a beautiful network here. So the Black Women's Club DXB.
Yeah.
And I experienced that through the event that you created.
Yeah.
So let's touch on that because I think the first time I heard about it and came across it, like actually attending something was the retreat. So it'd be good to learn a bit more about the network that you've built.
Yeah. So the retreat was just a side idea, but I'll get to that probably later.
Yeah.
So I remember about a year into my Dubai life, shall we say, I get a notification on Meetup on the app saying that, would you like to join this new group? And it was called Black Women's Club DXB. And I was like, I think I'm Black. I think I can. Yeah. So I was like, all right, I'm going. And I went on my own. And so that was 6 years ago. And the girl sat to the left of me and the girl sat to the right of me are now like lifelong friends. I've traveled with them, seen one get married, and I've personally experienced the power of how creating a safe environment can literally build lasting friendships. So when the time came for the person who was doing an amazing job at leading it, when she decided she was done with Dubai and she wanted to pass it on to me, I jumped at the chance because honestly, I feel so honored that people get to come and I always make jokes that the girls take advantage of me because they're like, oh, I just let Lizzie plan my life. And like, one of the girls
want that.
Yeah. So one of the girls made a comment recently because we went to Fujairah and then she said that her husband has become a hater because, he was like, oh, you're always going out with your fancy friends. And I was like, we're not fancy. And then one of the girls commented and she's like, Lizzie, we literally like 1 week we're going to Oman, we're going for brunch, we're going for dinners, we're doing all these different things. So that's pretty fancy.
It's pretty fancy.
Yeah. And I do find that I'll actually probably say half of the girls who join are women who have moved to Dubai completely on their own to follow their partner in pursuing his career. So I think having a space where you can meet other women like you is so important.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic because also you're giving the opportunity for friendships, and to hear that you've still got those lasting friendships, that's a topic that everyone's like, you need to talk about friendships in Dubai because either they can be very fickle because they're new. It's not like, oh, we've grown up with that person or I went to uni with that person. So it's still possible to have that type of friendship in Dubai, which I think is really encouraging. And it can be quite lonely, Dubai.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do and you can definitely find someone to go for a drink with. But in terms of like when you're struggling, it can be a really lonely place. So it's great that you're giving women the opportunity to network and find their kind of people as well within those bigger groups.
Yeah,
they're doing a great job. So let's talk about, I keep on referring to the retreat because it was the best. And I'm not just saying that because we're here in a studio. Like I woke up the next day for the first time in a long time and I just felt a lot lighter. Aww. And it took, I felt just a lot lighter. And I was like, that was such a good day. I really enjoyed it. So I want to understand what made you do something like that in terms of like a soul care retreat. And, what was the basis of it?
Yeah. So it's a really long story. So your people are going to have to probably edit me. But basically it started really, really personal issue for me. So basically I have spent the last 12 years as a personal assistant / executive assistant. That is my career. And I would say my career got really, really exciting when I moved to Dubai, just because when you are supporting a high net worth individual here, the lifestyle they're leading in Dubai. So I spent my first 2.5 years supporting somebody really amazing. I was 25. I was going on private planes. I was attending the World Economic Forum. I was meeting celebrities. I really, really just had such an amazing role supporting this guy. And it was really, really difficult because if you support somebody, most people, when they get to the top, they're very intense. Yeah. And this guy in particular, he would literally message on a Sunday at 10 p.m. like, I've had the greatest idea. I want everyone in my house in an hour. And me and the chief of staff would just have to go. And we could brainstorm till 2, 3 in the morning. It was intense.
Whoa.
It was intense. Yeah.
But you have no time for yourself then?
Yeah. So this is part of the problem. Whilst it was amazing, I just didn't have a life. Yeah. And I found myself eventually so burnt out and just craving my London days where, I had kind of like a 9 to 5 and you had that stability. My previous role, I had to travel with him. So it really was just crazy. Yeah. So then I got a normal role, which I was really excited about. And then it's so wonderful, how God has timing, because around this time is also when my friend decided to leave Dubai, and she said, do you want to take on this group? Oh. Before this, there's no way in hell I would have had the capacity to run a group connecting women. But now I had a 9 to 5. I had the space, to do that. And about a month into this new job that was meant to be super, super blissful, that's when COVID started.
Oh, yeah, the dreaded COVID.
yeah, exactly. And then HR basically said, we've hired too many people from next week, you will be a receptionist.
Hold on. So they hired you on a particular role
as an executive assistant.
You have to do something else.
Yeah. And then a month in, they told me from next week, I'm going to be a receptionist. Yeah.
Is that well? I don't.
Well,
anyway, yeah.
Okay. We'll continue. Yeah. And then all of a sudden at reception, my dear, I was screamed at. Screamed is a bit extreme, but spoken to so rudely. All of a sudden, people are barking at you, won't even look you in your eyes, just demanding, shouting because their rooms are. I was shouted at. I take that back. I was shouted at. What? I've got a client and the room hasn't been cleaned. All these things that I'm used to sitting in rooms brainstorming and people making big decisions about, business mergers and things like that. Now I'm being screamed at because a room isn't clean, and sometimes people are moaning because toilets aren't cleaned. It was such a humbling experience.
I can imagine.
And to be honest with you, it was not great at all.
That is so hard. And I think it also boils down to, you see the reality, unfortunately, of how some people can be, different faces, right?
Yeah.
Depending on who, and the disrespect that can be there with human beings. That is a humbling experience.
Yes.
Wow.
And honestly, during that period, I was just so miserable. Yeah. And then my landlord came and said, COVID times, I want my apartment back. So I was like, I'm going to be homeless soon. And then even the guy I was seeing at the time, I was in a situationship, and he's like, maybe we should just be friends for now and see how things go. And I remember responding back and saying to him like, can you let me know what has brought this on? Like maybe I can change something about myself.
Oh, Lizzie.
Honestly, my confidence was in the gutter. And I used to, bear in mind, I've just taken over this group. I used to put on these events, go to them and just cry. Like, I swear to you. Yeah. I don't actually know how the girls who were in the group at that time, which was now 4 years ago, are still in the group.
Solid people then. That shows a lot about people wanting to support others.
Yeah. Honestly, I was such a hot mess. I used to cry.
Time.
Yeah. I used to get anxiety going to work because I hated it.
Yes.
I was just super depressed.
Oh.
And I remember I was chatting to somebody at my that workplace.
Yeah.
And they said, do you think you might be depressed? And I was like, no. I'm fine. I'm very, very fine. I'm still going out and stuff. And then they were like, our company has free confidential counselling. Like, you can literally choose whatever counsellor you want to go to and send them the bill. And I remember being polite at the time because it's work. Don't want to be rude.
Yes, yeah.
But in my head, I was like, people don't do that. Like,
you're thinking, we don't. We soldier on and we're good.
Yeah, exactly. And then it just really was playing on my mind, this conversation just on repeat. And then I started just telling people about this conversation. And I was so shocked that every single female that I spoke to said that they'd done therapy. And some of these girls, I'd been friends with them. One of my friends even has a therapist on retainer. I said,
you didn't
what?
even know?
Yeah. I'm friends with you. I've never heard this in my life. But it was just so shocking to hear that people are asking for help, but for whatever reason, people are not talking about it.
Talk about it.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that was the push that I needed. Yeah. And I remember I went to the therapy session and I did my usual thing, because this is the state I was in during that time, where I was just crying. Literally, I feel like when I look back at that, it was like there was a violin somewhere. Like, I was like, I'm so unlucky. Nothing ever goes right for me. Everyone wants to leave me. Like, bad things always happen to me. Wow. And honestly, I wish if there was a way we could make therapy mandatory for all humans.
I'm so annoyed that I've discovered it now at the age of 36, because could have helped my life a lot. Before that. Honestly, I can't tell you how powerful it is to have a complete stranger that you will never see them again. They're completely unbiased. Not to sound harsh, but they don't care if you win the lottery tomorrow or you die tomorrow. It doesn't matter. They will give you their honest opinion based on what you've said. And I remember this lady listened to me with my usual sob story. I even, oh my goodness. So it is like the movies where you have a long couch. I remember lying on the couch and just crying. And she just listened to me quietly. And then she was like, why don't you like yourself? And then I said, what? Yeah. And I said, excuse me, I love myself. Yeah.
I said, I like myself a lot. Lots of people like me. I have lots of friends. And then she's like, yeah, no, you don't. And I remember being like arguing with her back and forth. And she was like, somebody who likes themselves wouldn't speak about themselves in this way and wouldn't allow people and, you know, things to treat them like this if they genuinely did like themselves. And honestly, I left that therapy session so angry and annoyed, thinking, how dare this woman tell me this? And I was hellbent on not coming back. Babes, I was back.
Like, I need more of what you're telling me. Can we just unpick this? Not liking?
But I ended up doing 8 therapy sessions with her. Good. And in that, I had a real breakthrough where I realized I really just had to stop, assess, change my mindset with how I was looking at things and just stand up for myself. Good. Like, I learned the hard way that if you let life just happen to you and you don't take control, then life is gonna just take you, all these ways up and down, and you can't be a passenger in the backseat of your life. Like, you have to start standing up for yourself.
Very good.
And I took it upon myself to basically open a case, like an official case at work against my HR.
Wow.
Which is crazy at the time, because now I'm not sure I would recommend it, because ultimately when you open an official grievance against HR, who's investigating it?
Yeah, it's HR. That's the problem here though, unfortunately. Where's the security?
Exactly. So I think it was really naive of me at the time to think I was ever going to get a fair investigation, but it was really important for me in my journey in terms of taking back control of my life and my career. Like, you spend most of your time at work.
Yes. That's really hard to like feel anxious to go to that place. That's awful.
So anyway, they conducted the investigation, they interviewed people around me, and they basically came back and said, we have found that the company have done no wrongdoing, and that basically you're just being difficult. And they ended off this official notice of saying, and by the way, you'll be starting the role you were actually hired to do back again from Monday onwards. So
someone that's been very difficult, but they've actually given the job.
Yeah, they gave me back the job I was hired to do. Yeah.
Oh, well done for you.
And I remember when that happened, that was a huge game changer for me. Because I just started looking at myself differently. Like, I stopped seeing myself as a victim, and I started thinking, like, I don't like this. What am I going to do to change about it? You know, that's the lens I was looking at things at. And I left that thinking, I've just had this really powerful, I remember, sorry, I'm just jumping stories, but on my 8th session with her, the lady who I was seeing, she was like, basically my work pre-approved 10 sessions. She's like, I don't think you need to come back. Like, I think you're on your way. Like, you've got this. Yeah.
For a therapist to do that as well, because at the end it's money for them, isn't it? Yeah, she could have just carried on.
Maybe she was sick of me because of how much I talk. I don't know.
She's like, she's transformed, she's good.
Yeah. But I remember when I was leaving, I spoke to the reception and I said to her, by the way, if my work weren't paying for this, like, how much would it cost for this? Do you know, she said 850 dirhams a session.
Yeah, it's expensive here.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because it's something that lots of people would probably at least like the opportunity to explore.
Yeah.
That's expensive.
Yeah. And I was just like, what? Like, who the hell has 850 dirhams to throw away once a week on therapy? And then that's when it really, really hit me that I've been lucky enough that whilst the company I was at the time was not perfect, there were perks that I obviously benefited from. But the reality is, for the everyday person, particularly person of colour, that's just not affordable. No, it really isn't. And it was really, really heavy on my heart that just that feeling of, I've had a transformation, I've had a game changer. How can I create an environment where other women possibly can? And I knew and I even said it at the start of the retreat, I don't know if you remember, that this is not in replacement of therapy. Yes. I am not qualified whatsoever. I'm not a therapist. Yes. But if I can create an environment where you can come out of your usual environment, you can look at yourself and think, how can I better myself? You know, then I want to do it. I really want to do it.
It was fantastic. I do remember you saying that, because you talked about obviously therapy and the importance, or how you found it so important, but equally the cost of doing it. And I think also what you did, you were very smart at curating a session that had a mixture of, we did yoga on the deck, with the sun shining. Like,
Yeah.
you know, how many
Yeah.
people get to do that's the first time I've done it. But it was a great experience. We've got other women sharing their experiences, teaching us how
Yeah.
to know, you know, own their power and be
Yeah.
confident in themselves.
Yeah.
So you created a really good agenda.
Yeah, thank you.
At an affordable price,
Thank
to be
you.
honest. Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny you say that.
Well, my next point was like, because I know, not to stereotype, but, you know, there's a lot of people that don't invest in this, right? I say our community, and I'm not speaking for everyone, because I think women have gotten better actually in self-care and, you know, taking time out of busy schedules, motherhood, relationships, marriages.
Yeah.
But what were some of the challenges? Because there must have been challenges doing this type of event.
Yeah, there was so many. So first of all, like having this great idea in my head and actually materializing it. I knew that budget was going to be a big issue from day one. Just because I actually spoke to quite a few friends who were non-Black, who had gone on retreats, and they told me that they were paying like 2,000 dirhams for like a 1-day retreat. And I just knew in my head that like my group is not going to be able to afford that. So I wanted something to be affordable. But then when I started reaching out to all these different speakers and hearing some of their fees, like some of them were like, I charge 5,000 for a 1-hour session, 10,000. Yeah, honestly, one of the ladies charged 9,000. So I was really deflated when I was contacting people. And then every now and again, like every 5 rejections, somebody would say, listen, this is well below my usual limit, but for whatever reason, I'm really inspired and I feel really called to be part of this. I will attend. And then that's kind of how the event itself started curating, coming together. And then I have to give credit where credit is due because there's another platform called That Girl in Dubai, which has got like 20,000 females or something like that.
Yeah.
So at this point, I had no shame. I was DMing everyone, begging,
Yes,
like,
good.
do you want to
But
be part of this?
You have to.
Yeah. So I DM'd them and I was like, hi, I'm running this retreat. I don't want you to get involved, but I saw you've done a retreat previously. If you've got any tips, can you please share them? Yeah.
Yes.
And I just DM'd them this thinking that I was going to be ignored.
Yeah.
I was very shocked that literally within 15 minutes, I get this message from this girl saying, hi, I'm the owner of That Girl in Dubai. Do you want to jump on a call? And this girl literally spent 1 hour with me, giving me tips and tricks on like what to do. And I'll never forget, she said to me that just be warned, people will happily pay for brunches, alcohol, but when it comes to investing in themselves and their well-being, they won't see the value. And I said to her, like, no, don't worry. Like, my guys are good. We do spa days.
Like they pay for those things.
Yeah. She was very much right. She was very much right. Because then when we eventually evolved into like actually inviting people to come, my goodness, it was such a struggle to get people to see value in this. And some people I knew personally were struggling in their personal lives. So I just didn't understand, like, why are you not jumping?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I've got a full day where you've got a life coach. I've got a freaking business expert who was on The Apprentice. I've got a meditation specialist. We're going to be on the Palm. I've got food, so much food.
At least food,
Yeah. For like literally a fifth of the price of what this is usually charged. And so many people just said it was like way too expensive. It was really demotivating. And so many times I just thought, maybe I shouldn't bother. You paid in advance. You're doing all of this to make the event successful. And luckily, thank goodness, the first one I did was successful. But I remember, this is going to sound really ungrateful.
Let's talk is about honesty.
Okay,
So don't feel shy about saying what's on your mind.
Yeah. So I remember after the first one I did, it was the end of the day, packing up, so drained because you've been on go for like 2 months straight.
Non-stop.
And then I finished paying everyone. And then I saw after all of that work, I had like 900 and like something dirhams I made from it. Yeah. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, I could literally just make this doing overtime at work. Like, why have I spent 2 months? And I went to bed really angry until the next morning, what I like to call the flood came in.
Okay.
And I got so many messages that just made me so embarrassed of how I was thinking the day before.
But you're human. I like that you've owned that, because you're human and so much time and effort goes into it. But I think also it takes you back when you get your feedback to your why. And we're human. Sometimes we're like, I put all this effort in. Maybe I would have liked something out of it. But your why came back to you the next day.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I was so, my heart was warmed when you said that you were going through a divorce and it helped you.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, Lizzie, even if like everyone's going to have an opinion, it's very hard doing that type of event because you create it. Maybe it's not for someone or they've never done it before and they expect it. But for me, I'd never done it before. And I was definitely one of those women that never invested in like self-care, mental health. I'm quite lucky that my firm has insurance that covers therapy because it is so expensive.
Good.
So when you said you were doing this, but particularly I think at an affordable rate, because you think about how much therapy is per session, it's an opportunity to allow for women to at least take a day out for themselves. Yeah,
exactly. I remember one of the messages that really touched me. I have to say this very respectfully. She messaged me 2 days after a retreat, actually. And to summarize, she basically had an issue with her safety. And she was like, she was thinking over what Nuna said, the life coach, about, you know, living in your authentic self. And she was like, she does not want her kids to see this atmosphere. And she was like, she is done with pretending to her extended family. And she was like, Saturday has made her realize she has to find the strength to make a change. And honestly, like, can I just say, you can edit this out, but can I just say God is so, so, so beautiful.
We are not editing out that because I'm a Christian as well. And I feel even if you're not a Christian or whatever your beliefs are, maybe not, but you have to, for me, I think it's important to declare that if that is your faith.
Yeah. Like imagine this was birthed from me being upset because my ego like hated that I was a receptionist. And here I am, like, I think I've had about 7 or 8 girls come and say that they're going through divorces and the retreat helped them. I've obviously had more extreme cases like that where somebody said, you know, this has given them the courage to leave a situation like that. Then other people are just like, they just want a day on the palm, you know?
Which is fine as well, because you've given, it's like a balance, isn't it? But I think, what you need to recognize is actually the beauty of what you've created and how it's actually helping people. To the point where they're actively wanting to make changes for the better. That's amazing.
And I honestly think I don't care about, you know, anything in terms of what I get. As long as I am continuing to create a space, I don't want this to be just for my group. I want to continue to create a safe space where women can look at their lives and just think, how can I be better? That's I feel it so intensely on my heart that I was called to keep on doing this for as long as God allows me. And like I always send out feedback surveys after the events, and I always get the same feedback of this shouldn't be once a year, we need to do it more. And it's just too draining. It's just not possible.
So much time that goes into it. I completely appreciate that. Yeah, there's so much time. But that is great feedback.
Yeah.
And I think even if you look back on your journey, because you went through, that's a really difficult time to go through. Like, surviving that is really hard. But how God fulfills purpose. And you can sit there now and kind of see it probably. Because it's just like you've used that and now you're supporting other people. And at the time you're probably like, why me? Don't use me for anything. I just want my own peace of mind. But look what's happened now.
Even creating an environment where, you know, just mediocre or being treated poorly just can't exist. Like you literally have to create an atmosphere when the second something doesn't feel good for you, you're able to take a step back and say it's not for me.
That takes a lot of bravery though as well in life. I learned the hard way because I'm not that typical person to kind of stand up in that way to make such a drastic decision in terms of divorce. But then you get compelled to be like, what is my values, my life? You know, like there's just something in you that actually brings a lot of courage, even if you feel like I could never have done that. If I looked back, I'd be like, no, I'll just have to make it work and I have to stay. But life teaches you some things. So now that you've gone on your own, like, or probably maybe you're still on the journey, like mental health and wellness, like What do you do? Like, how do you maintain that? Because life is life. It's busy. You know, there's always going to be ups and downs. As great and sunny as Dubai is, we're still doing life here.
Yeah.
Which is why Let's Talk for me was my revelation of there's a lot of people that are doing life. We're real people.
Yeah.
It's not everyday brunches. It's not because we have sunshine, we don't go through things.
Yeah.
And it can be lonely. Some people don't have anybody to talk to about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's even scary because you're then internalizing something, with no outlet, no safe outlet. So how do you navigate your well-being and mental health still?
So I think staying in that mind frame of I'm really, really paying attention to my body now. If something doesn't feel good for me, if I can't quickly identify how this is serving me, I'm not doing it, and just being really, really clear on your boundaries. I think that's number one. I've actually made a list.
Bring it out.
I like
a list because I've learned so much from speaking to people. So yes, I want to hear this.
So number one, is to know yourself. And that means, you have to take the time to assess yourself, assess your life. I truly believe you need to actually step out of your everyday circumstances where there's bias or where you've got your everyday patterns. And it doesn't even need to be soul care retreat. It could be any other retreat. It could be a solo holiday. But you need to step out of your normal environments and just assess, what makes you feel good? Who are you? Like, what environments bring the best out of you? Do you have one friend that you always have anxiety when you see her because she's always going to ask you for money or she's like just draining? That's not good for you. That's not good for you in here. Yeah. So it's really just creating or really just becoming aware of what affects your soul care, Do
you know, I say that because I feel like I'm only now really learning my habits, good and bad, and who I am. I'm coming on to 37 and in therapy, I'm like, why did I not do this when I was like 15? Doing it as an adult is so hard. Like, who am I? I should know who I am by now. But you don't. And you evolve, right?
Keep changing.
You change. Good tip. I like that one.
And then sometimes it's just little things like protecting your peace. So I started a rule. It sounds so dumb when I say it out loud, but I started a rule that basically after 9 p.m., I love, like, on Netflix, I love murder shows. I love, Stalker Next Door, all of that.
You're right at 9 p.m.?
No, but this is the new rule because I can binge watch this stuff. But after 9 p.m., I'm like strictly...
it's the opposite. Yeah.
I'm going to watch light stuff because I truly believe how you go to sleep.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, watching this, I have a cousin and she's like... I say she's brave. I'm a wimp. If it's not fairy tales, I can't watch it. Like, I block my whole being from those types of things. So yes, but I think at a certain time, I agree.
Yeah. And then number 2, fuel yourself. You are what you eat. This is one that I personally struggle with.
I'm struggling.
But it's so important. Like, you can't talk about how to better yourself if you're feeding yourself nonsense. Like, it just doesn't work.
It's hard though, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember the first retreat we did, we had this really amazing nutritionist, Adelia Smith, and she gave this analogy of, imagine you spend 8 hours cleaning your house and you clean it from top to bottom, you do the ironing, you do everything so perfect. And then your husband comes in and just messes everything up and then leaves, and then he comes back in 8 hours and does the exact same thing again, messes it up. And she was like, this is what you're doing with your body. Every single time you just feed it nonsense, and then it has to, like, imagine the way your body has to struggle to get nutrients and good things out of, like, McDonald's or KFC.
There's a lot in there.
Versus if you just gave it healthy food, you can really
You're speaking to me, yeah. I've spent the year comfort eating because of obviously everything, but I felt the heaviest. I felt it came out in my skin, in my hair and everything. So I completely get it. It's discipline. I think for me, it's discipline.
Yeah. And then just do whatever you need to do to, like, beat the cravings, I read this really, really good book. Sorry, it is a Christian book.
No, don't apologize. Okay. Yeah, no, acceptance of all religions, faiths, don't apologize. Yeah.
But yeah, it's called Breaking the Stronghold of Food. Honestly, I
have to find that.
Honestly, and it is really, really fantastic. I thought, I don't even know how I ended up reading it, but it was a real game changer.
Yep.
And number 3, treat yourself. Yeah,
yes, I like
this one
that.
I like
Yes,
a lot.
yeah.
And that can mean, nails, spa days,
important.
massages.
Yep.
You just have to take care of
Yeah.
yourself. And then 4 is invest in yourself.
Yes, yeah.
I cannot tell you the amount of stress you're going to have if finances is a burden in your life, honestly. And then my next one, so you can cut this out if
We're not cutting
it's a bit
anything,
naughty.
Lizzie.
No, because I think it sounds really wild when you say it out loud, but I just know it's worked for me.
Right, okay.
So if you are somebody who is not disciplined when it comes to money,
Right.
And you're just living your best life,
Yes.
you don't know how to say no. I need to give you a bit of backstory.
Okay.
So initially when I moved out to Dubai,
Yep.
the point was that I was going to save for a house deposit to buy in London.
Okay.
And every single year, my dad has been on my back without fail of like, when are you
What
buying
happened?
a house? When are you buying a house? Have you started saving? And I've kept on saying next month, next month. And then it was actually him who said to me that not everybody is disciplined enough to save. Like
Right.
perhaps
Yep.
you need money to make money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, what do you mean? So we had a discussion and I hope this won't sound controversial.
No.
But I just realized I don't have the discipline to save.
Okay.
So what I've done is I've taken out a loan.
Yes.
And I've put it into an account, which I
Okay.
cannot touch.
Yep.
And the loan was 3% interest.
So
And I've put it into an account that's 4.9% interest,
Good.
which I can't touch for 5 years.
Yep.
And basically that is my house deposit. Done, sorted. Although that being said, again, if you know you're not in a stable job or you're just not good with money.
You don't go and do that because it
don't
adds
do
a lot of
this.
stress. Yeah, I feel like, but at least it's about knowing yourself. It goes
Yeah.
back to that point.
Yeah.
So if this is what's going to help you achieve the goal, and it's
Yeah.
quite a smart way. I think it's also looking at finances quite differently.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a big risk taker. I'll be that
Yeah.
one that I'm like, I'm just going to put my money away, put it away. But you've done something that's actually going to
Yeah.
help you gain
Yeah.
money to reach your
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah. And I'm actually making interest off of
Good.
it. So yeah, that was invest in yourself. And 5, and the final tip
Yep.
is you have to continuously work on building your successful life.
Yeah.
I recently read a book called The Top 1%.
Okay.
And honestly, I thought this book was so great. It's got lots of like really simple tips.
Okay.
But the way they just put it is really amazing. And be intentional with your life. I was talking before about like just not taking the back seat.
Yeah.
When I think back to that time where I was just, honestly, it was like a violin. Everything bad was happening to me. I'm so unlucky. Just all these bad things. It was such a reminder that you have to like take control and set goals for yourself.
Yeah.
Like think about like who you want to become. How can you get there? Nuna Nafusi, who's an amazing life coach, she's always talking about, setting micro goals that are realistic, because let's be honest, if you tell yourself that I'm going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro at the end of the year, maybe you can, maybe you're an experienced hiker. I don't know.
Me? No.
But like there's a strong likelihood if you set that as your goal, you're probably going to fail.
Yeah.
Versus if you say, listen, I want to go on 3 hikes by the end of the year. That's a
Doable.
lot. That's a micro goal. It's a lot more achievable.
You're right.
Most importantly, just creating a life where only success can thrive. This is a really, really random story. But a few weeks ago, I was meant to go on a date. I'm on the dating app.
Yes.
And this guy called me the day of because he wanted to pick me up. So he wanted to know about like the parking situation. Then we got chatting and he said something basically just saying that Dubai is like Las Vegas and he doesn't know if he's got this naughty streak out of him. So for me, warning, but it was like red flag, red flag.
Not. You enjoy yourself.
Yeah. So I said to him like, just to clarify, like, what are you looking for? And then he said he's going to be honest. He's not looking for something serious, but he's open to if he meets the right person, just enjoying like the company and just seeing where it goes.
Okay.
So I know the previous me would have been like, maybe I can change him or maybe I can adapt.
He'll be ready.
Yeah. But the new me now thinks about the fact of my time is so valuable.
Yeah.
This is just not going to work. And then when I told him, listen, I think we should call it off. He was just like, listen, it's the day of, like, let's just do dinner as friends. Like, let me pick you up. Like, let's go.
Yep.
And again, the old me would have been like, I need to eat anyway. Let me just go and meet this guy. But the sensible me realized that, hold on, I've matched you on an app because I'm attracted to you.
Yes.
If the pictures were real, he had muscles.
Right,
he was very good looking.
Yes.
Yeah. So realistically, what's the likelihood that we're going to have a budding friendship here?
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It's physical attraction initially. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like just setting a standard for yourself where the nonsense that used to creep in your life, it can't even enter. Your circle is so fierce now, it can't even enter. Yeah. So just finding your way to just build a successful life you love, that only good things can thrive.
Lizzie, wow. Thank you. I'm taking those points away. That's like, it's such a good learning. Like there's so much. And I can see that you're actually actively doing this. Like, you know, it's like and it's made a difference to how you see yourself, how you carry yourself as well, and what you accept and what you don't accept.
Yeah.
You're doing great. You're doing great. And everything you're doing for our community and for women in general is fantastic. So parting words, let me know quickly, what is it that you're planning to do for the network, for the community? What events are coming up? Too many events. Summertime. So
yeah, we're actually going on a break.
It's summer break.
I say we, like there's loads of people in Black Women's Club DXB. It's just me doing it
Doing the
all.
organisation,
Yeah.
wow.
So I give myself a break over summer, just to pause. But when I come back, which will probably be September time, keeping up with the same, like creating this safe space for women to connect.
Thank you so much for coming in, for giving me your time, for being so honest as well, sharing about yourself. I think, you're doing great. I feel your energy. I feel your energy. So thank you.
Thank you.
Let's Talk DXB. Real conversations by real people.